9:40 right now. Welcome back to CW Iowa Live. I am Lou. This is Jackie and Michael Jenkins, attorney at law, joining us in the studio. How are you, my friend?
Doing great.
Good.
You're looking pretty good for watching all 18 innings last
Yeah, the
night.
reason we were joking, saying this on this day has to do with something that's of interest to you, the Chicago Cubs.
I just made it to the 14th inning and it was lights out.
You're like, I can't do it anymore.
And the Cubs said lights out after, 18 innings? Yeah, when the Yankees end up beating them. But anyway, that's another game. We'll get rid of that one here. But anyway, what are we talking about today?
Well, I wanted to discuss how we do bankruptcies in my office. I was thinking last night, what should we talk about this morning that I haven't spoken about in the last 3 years? And I was kind of looking through my topics, and I never talked about this before, what we actually do when we help somebody out with their bankruptcy and what the steps are. So I thought that would be a good topic for today.
That would be, since that's your business.
So the first step when we see somebody is they schedule an appointment to come and see me so we can kind of take a look at their situation. So it's a free consultation, no strings attached. You got nothing to lose except an hour of your time. So we'll sit down with the person, we'll kind of review their finances, look at what the debts are, so hopefully they bring them along with them.
I say we've talked in past segments about how to prepare for that first meeting, so
Absolutely.
hopefully people are prepared. If not, you kind of guide them along that direction as well.
For sure, and hopefully they'll have seen the show, regular viewers, and brought their credit reports with them maybe, or at least wrote the stuff down.
Right.
We asked them to bring a couple paycheck stubs, because we'd like to review how bad the debt situation is, what kind of income the person makes. So we look at the pay stubs and kind of jot it down, and then see what they live on every month, their regular expenses to survive. And then we'll know, is bankruptcy a good situation for the person to do, or maybe some other options?
Now, if people are making an appointment with you, that's the first step, is make an appointment to come see you.
That's right.
Will you give them a checklist to say, okay, here's what you need to bring?
Well, we asked them to bring to the appointment a list of their debts and a couple paycheck stubs. So it's pretty simple. The first appointment, you just got to bring those things. Now, for some people, they tend to make that a big ordeal. And I guess it depends on how many debts you got as to how time-consuming it can be to get them.
Right.
So we like to go over that and make that review, just an overall financial review with the person. And then the next thing we like to do is explain how this bankruptcy is going to work from the beginning to the end. So there's not so much apprehension on the part of the person of the unknown, having no idea what's going to go on during this thing. And it really is a relatively painless procedure once everything gets rolling. So we kind of just explain that step by step. The next thing we do is we have worksheets that we give to people to get the information that we need. It's the most valuable tool we have, because to do the bankruptcy right, we have to put down the right stuff. We have to know what the debts are. We have to know what assets, what property people own. We have to report different financial matters that have occurred with a person during the last 2 years. So we have a set of worksheets. We've tried to put those in terms that everybody would be able to understand, and try to remove all the legal terms and unfamiliar terms. But there's still people, that would have questions just because they read a question a certain way and they're not sure what we're meaning.
Is that something you would fill out together with the client, or is that like homework that you would do when you go?
Yeah, that's homework. I mean, we do go over all the different areas of the worksheet. So again, they're going to have some familiarity because we've spoken about it, and there's written directions in the worksheets reinforcing what I've already explained to them while they're there. But that's something they take home, because nobody could really sit down in the office and be able to accurately fill out the information that would be needed. And accuracy is very important. And so it also has a list of things they do have to bring back with everything else, all itemized out on an independent sheet that's in there.
Okay.
So the things are laid out pretty well. We go over it so they kind of have an idea already before they start tackling it at home, what's going to be involved, and then they just got to get back to us. Then at the end, any other questions a person has, they're welcome to ask me during that time.
What are some of the more common questions people ask you at this point?
Actually, once we get down to the end, most people don't have any other questions, because I'll be candid, I think I do a real good job.
Very
and I
thorough.
answer all the questions before we get to the end. Now, some people try to interrupt me and go, I'd like to ask you about this, and I say, oh, we're going to get to that, and they're kind of anticipating things. And so just because we generally know what people are interested in knowing and what they need to ask,
that's good to
we
know.
try to cover all that. And then Sometimes people do come up with some good questions at the end that I wouldn't have thought of asking. That it's a good question, and so we'll answer anybody's questions. Fortunately, I don't usually get stumped after all these years. It's pretty tough to stump me on a question.
How many years have you been doing this?
About 34, I think.
Yeah, so you pretty much have it down pat, don't you?
Yeah, after all this time, I better.
Everybody's case, I imagine, is just a little bit different, but yet it kind of fits in the same mold of what you have to perform.
Right, it's going in the same direction, but everybody's situation is different, so there's different nuances to each person's case because each fact pattern, each life stuff is different. Some people have medical bill-driven bankruptcies, some people have business, some are just too much use of their credit cards.
Right.
So it's all different.
Yeah, lifestyle issues.
Absolutely. So then the next step of handling this process is actually preparing the bankruptcy. So a person has to return those worksheets because that's basically the toolbox. We don't have any tools until we get those worksheets back.
Is there a deadline for anything like that?
No, I mean, for some people, there's sort of an unofficial deadline. They got wage garnishments and such going on. So if they want their paycheck to keep getting taken to the tune of 25%, they can take their time. But if they'd like that to stop, rushing is kind of important.
Is important.
Now, so they got to return the worksheets. Now, for some people, the problem is returning them has to accompany the fees, and so some people are able to get the fees quickly, other people's aren't. I mean, that's just how it is for situations, and some people take a really long time and eventually get it. Now, the turnaround time can vary. We have a lot of them that we're doing, and we do them in the order that they come in. If people's wages are actually being garnished when they come in, I'll take those out of order and do those immediately, and we try to get those turned around within a couple of days so that we can stop the wage garnishment because we don't like people losing their money.
Right.
Sure.
So we'll
Is there a
kinda
time
pull
of
those.
year that's a little bit busier than others, or is it just kind of steady all year round?
It's steady all year round. I mean, there tends to be a spike when people are getting their tax refunds because now they get some extra money that they haven't had before. So those that have been trying to get the money to file have a source of funds, or some people wait until about that time knowing they're needing to file because now the funds are available and so they can afford to do it.
Okay.
So that tends to be a time of the year that sort of spikes. But otherwise, I think it's relatively consistent throughout the other parts of the year.
Okay.
So we get the case prepared, and then once we do, our client has to come in so they can review it. Signatures are required on this document. We tell our clients to allow about a half hour to 45 minutes for the signing.
Wow.
Because it's just not coming in and quick sign your name and say see ya.
Okay.
They have to review the document, which tends to be 50 to 60 pages of material.
Whoa.
So we have them sit in our conference room and review it. We don't rush them. Whatever time they need, they can take their time. We ask them to, if they find any errors or changes that need to be made, or if something dawns on them after looking at it that, hey, I think I forgot to tell them about that, well, that's the time that we can go and fix it.
Okay, can you fix it right there, or is it just prolong the process?
Oh, no, I mean, just run back to the office, make a change on the computer. It's a matter of a minute.
Okay.
So it's no big deal. We just reprint off a few things.
Okay.
So after they've had a chance to look it over, then I come in and we go over all the different sections with them. I explain all the different sections of what they've just looked at, and then we have the person sign about a half dozen places to sign your name. I've got to sign in a few places, and then we electronically file the case. It's not like the old days where you march down these thick packets of bankruptcies down to the federal bankruptcy court and almost needed a wheelbarrow to haul them in. Now you just push a button on the computer and off it goes into space, and it arrives at the bankruptcy court. So that turned out pretty nice, and quick that way. So now the case is filed and we're on our way. The person has to attend a legal proceeding about a month after the filing. We've spoken about that before. So 3 to 4 weeks after filing, there's a legal proceeding. It's very informal. It's called a meeting of the creditors. Fortunately, the creditors generally don't choose to attend. It's conducted by the court trustee. So that's a fairly simple matter for most people. They call your name, you sit up at a table with me. They'll ask you generally about a minute or so's worth of questions, and that part's done. And then after that, a couple months go by, about 60 days, and then the court will issue its final discharge paper. So at that point, then you're debt-free. So it's a new day, and you know, some debts you've chosen to keep, your mortgage payment perhaps, your car payment. Some debts you've chosen not to keep, but you're keeping them anyway, your student loans, recent tax debt for the last couple of years. But all the other debt that was just hounding you and holding you back, and all the judgments, those all go away, and the person can live peacefully after that. Credit becomes available again because all the bad stuff that was out there is gone. So now you can re-enter the credit world in good standing and maybe bolster your credit and get car loans and make payments and someday buy a house again. If you haven't had one before, or if you need to get another one because you lost one, they're available again.
Now, you said the last step of this process is about 2 months, about 60-day waiting period. What's from the time you start to the time that you are debt-free?
If you're able to get your fees and work
everything taken care of,
work
yeah.
the
Right.
papers in right away, what's the ultimate?
So from the time the case is
sacrifice.
actually filed, there's a period of roughly 90 days from the date the case actually gets filed until the discharge paper is granted by the court and the case comes to a conclusion. So it's pretty swift.
It is.
And during the 60-day period after you've attended your legal proceeding, for most people, nothing's really going on. I mean, they just go about their business. These are just time periods that have to go on just for administration purposes in the court and ministerial matters. But for the person that's going through it, in the majority of cases, nothing's going on that they've got to really be involved in.
Okay.
Do the wage garnishments stop right away, or would it be 90 days until that would happen?
Once the case actually gets filed, all collection activity must stop.
Okay.
So as far as wage garnishments, once we file it, we'll then fax the county sheriff's department that's responsible for doing the wage garnishment, letting them know that the bankruptcy was filed. We fax them proof, and then they will immediately, and I guess immediate depends on what county sheriff's department you're talking to, but they will notify in writing the employer to terminate the garnishment proceedings, and then the sheriff's been holding the money that's been coming out of the paycheck. So the bankruptcy trustee will generally be asked by the sheriff, what should we do with these funds that we're holding? And in many of the cases, they just tell them return it to the person.
Really?
And they send it back to their job, and they get reimbursed those funds.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Now, if it's over $1,000 or way over, then some of that money won't be protected, and the court may hang on to it. But if it's around $1,000 or slightly over, most of that money will just come back to the person.
How about that?
And so that turns out well, and that's why it's important to try to get the bankruptcy filed before the garnishment's over and the creditors gotten their court order releasing the money to them.
Right.
Because
Right.
once it's in their hands, it's not coming
You're
into
not
my
getting it
client's
back.
hands.
But the most important thing is you got to start the process to begin with. So if people want to
That's
get in
right.
touch with you so they can start the very first thing you're talking about, and that's that free meeting, how can they do that?
Well, you can call me at 255-1855, and we'd be happy to talk to you and set that up. Or you can find me on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks for breaking
Good
it
to
down
see
for
you.
us.
All right, it's 8:53 right now, and we will be right back. You're watching CW Iowa Live in West Des Moines.